I wanted to deal with Exodus.
Okay.
For you real quick before you jump there.
Okay.
Because I wanted to prove that them heathens did not go through the the so-called Red Sea. Okay? Go at Exodus 12. Now this is dealing with the Exodus 12. Go to Exodus 12 and 27.
12 and 27. That ye shall say, it is the sacrifice of the Lord's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt.
Yeah. So that's dealing with the Passover, right? That's dealing with the Passover. Now we're gonna jump to 35.
This is Exodus 12, verse 35. It says, and the children of Israel did according to the word of Moses, and they borrowed of the Egyptians jewels of silver and jewels of gold and raiment.
So they took that shit, in other words. Because the Mophai was lighting Egypt, them heathens up. Go ahead.
Verse 36, and the Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians.
What people? Israel. Go ahead.
So they lent unto them such things as they required.
Yeah, gave them what they wanted. So in other words, they took that shit. Cause them heathens, them Egyptians, which their biblical nationality is Mizraim, which means bondage too. When you look it up, in the Hebrew, them heathens gave Israel what they wanted. Go ahead.
And they spoiled the Egyptians.
Then they spoiled the Egyptians. Go ahead.
It says, and the children of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 on foot, and they were men beside children.
So that was right there. See that? That was right there. I don't know if you can see it. Focus in. That was right up in there. Okay? That's what they was, right up in there. Right? Alright, go ahead, Doc.
It says, and a mixed multitude went up also with them.
And a mixed multitude also went up with them. So they was right there with that mixed multitude, right? Let me see. This one right here, so y'all don't get lost. I'm up there. They was up there, right? That's where they was. All right, go ahead.
It says, and flocks and herds very much cattle, and they baked unleavened cakes of the dough which they brought forth out of Egypt, for it was not leavened.
So it was not leavened. Okay, go ahead.
Because they were thrust out of Egypt and could not tarry, neither had they prepared for themselves any victual.
So that's why you're supposed to eat unleavened bread during the Passover, and that's why you're supposed to eat it in haste too. You're supposed to eat that in haste, and you're supposed to eat unleavened bread. Go ahead.
It says, now the sojourning of the children of Israel who dwelt in Egypt
for that whole week of the Passover, that unleavened bread, so you can understand. Go ahead.
Was 430 years. That's a cut to you Egypt people. You believing in Egypt, you Egyptology people. That's a hell of a cut for you, man. Believing in you are Egyptian.
Go back up to 38, because that's what I want. That's the point.
This is Exodus 12 and 38. And a mixed multitude went up also with them, and flocks and herds, even very much cattle. And they baked unleavened cakes and dough, which they brought out forth from Egypt. For it was not leavened, because they were thrust out of Egypt.
Now, the point I want is Nehemiah 13 and 3. Link it up with Nehemiah 13 and 3. Show you something.
Book of Nehemiah, chapter 13, verse 3. Now it came to pass, when they had heard the law they separated from Israel all the mixed multitude.
Cut. Go ahead. Go back to where you was at.
It says,
What is the law? To keep the Passover. So they separated. When they heard that, they separated. That mixed multitude was out of there. Go ahead.
It says, and a mixed multitude went up.
Because you, Salaki, if you think I'm bullshitting, have one of them heathens at the Passover and see what happened to your monkey ass. See what happened to you. Have one of them heathens at your Passover while you eating unleavened bread. And see what happened to that Passover.
Exodus 12 and 38.
Yeah, go ahead.
And a mixed multitude went up also with them, and flocks and herds, even very much cattle. And they baked unleavened cakes of dough, which they brought forth out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, because they were thrust out of Egypt and could not tarry, neither had they prepared for themselves any victual.
Yeah, the real Egyptians are the Watusis, the Zulus, and the Sudanese down there in the Congos and stuff. So if you run across one of them Egyptians and during the time of the Passover, bring one of them to the Passover and see what the Most High do to you. You calling yourself sincere? You know, you calling yourself sincere.
We'll read verse 40.
Now this is in the now we jump into the 14th chapter, the 14th chapter in the 14th verse.
This is Exodus 14 and 14.
Now we just left chapter 12. Now we jump into chapter 14. That mixed multitude gone. All right.
Come. And the subtitle is "The Most High Opens the Red Sea." That's the subtitle to it.
God. And here, that's what they was right up there, like I was saying, because that's part of it. That so-called river right there is part of the Red Sea. The Gulf of Suez is part of the Red Sea. That's why it's like that. Okay, go ahead.
It says, Exodus 14 and 14, the Lord Yahweh shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. And the Lord Yahweh said unto Moses, wherefore criest thou unto me? Speak unto the children of Israel that they go forward.
Nah, it said the mixed multitude.
Speak unto the children of Israel that they go forward.
You put that in there. You put that in there. That's like the mixed multitudes, man.
Speak unto the children of Israel that they go forward. But lift up thy rod and stretch out thy hand over the sea and divide it.
God.
And the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea.
What a mixed multitude there.
God, like you said, they brought that unleavened bread out here to go.
They had to get up out of there because the law was said. You see? But what a mixed multitude there. What a mixed multitude there.
Go on, man.
Go ahead.
It says, but lift up thy rod and stretch out thy hand over the sea and divide it. The children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. And I, behold, I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they shall follow them, and I will get me honor upon Pharaoh and upon all his hosts, upon his chariots and upon his horses. And the Egyptians shall know that I am the Lord Yahweh, when I have gotten me honor upon Pharaoh, upon his chariots and upon his horses.
So Esau then went over there and dug up them chariots. He know it happened. Esau know it happened.
Okay.
You see? Esau know it happened. Because that's the way Esau is. When he get some Jake or some scholar to tell him about the scriptures. He done pay Jake off or some scholar off. Okay. And Esau go dig it up. And go search for it. So Esau know. Go ahead. So-called white man.
And the angel of the Lord which went before the camp of Israel removed and went behind them.
What?
And went behind them.
Did the angel go behind them or was in front of them?
It said went behind them.
Go ahead.
And the pillar.
So that mean to tell me you got the children of Israel up here, and then you got the chariot behind them, and then you got Pharaoh them behind the chariot. You see? Go ahead.
It says, removed and went behind them, and the pillar of the cloud went from before their face and stood behind them.
Gun.
And it came between the camp of the Egyptians.
That pillar of cloud is a so-called UFO. Go ahead.
And the camp of Israel, and it was a cloud of darkness to them. Mm-hmm. But it gave light by night to these, so that the one came not near the other all the night. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Lord caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all the night, and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided. Mm-hmm. And the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea upon the dry ground, and the waters.
Wait a minute, it said the mixed multitude.
It said the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea upon the dry ground, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left hand.
See, that's what Esau put on them History Channel. Because you people don't study them scriptures. You don't know when Esau is going off. So when you see us on the highway and the byway and you don't got no understanding, you didn't watch the History Channel, you come up on us and nah, it was a mixed multitude. I know where you got it from, the History Channel. Or some bird brain then told you that who's unlearned, and you just repeat what they say and ain't read no scriptures for yourself.
Yeah, when you look at 10 Commandments, when Pharaoh didn't get ready to go into the sea, you see that big whirlwind of fire in front of them, and they can't go nowhere. They all froze. You remember that? Yeah. So that's validity for what we read in the scriptures. Keep going.
Yeah, because I want to. They're gonna drown them.
It says, I'll start at verse 23. It says, and the Egyptians pursued and went in after them in the midst of the sea, even all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horses. And it came to pass that in the morning watch, the Lord looked upon the host of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and of the cloud, and troubled the host of the Egyptians, and took off their chariot wheels, that they drave them heavily. So that the Egyptians said, let us flee from the face of Israel, for the Lord fighteth for them against the Egyptians.
Go ahead.
And the Lord said unto Moses, stretch out thine hand over the sea, that thy waters may come again upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots, and upon their horses. It says, and Moses stretched forth his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to its strength when the morning appeared, and the Egyptians fled against it. And the Lord overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea.
Yeah, so he drowned them, man. He drowned them. So why didn't he say the Egyptians, man? Why he do the Egyptians like that? Because the Most High wasn't with them, man. The Most High only know Israel. He only dealing with Israel. I know fucking Egyptians, man.
Cold cut, you just college niggas, man. That's cold cut, man.
Man, them niggas fucking stupid,
they
man.
Fucking crazy, man.
They fucking stupid, man. That's
hey.
All right, then they'll say the Bible been plagiarized. You people don't fuck what? From what? Man, you people, man. All right, that's why we just ignore you fucking people a lot of times. We just, man, these fucking people dumb as hell, man. They don't know what the hell they talking about. That's why we ignore you a lot of times. Go ahead. But we do defend the scripture, but sometimes we gotta ignore your dumb ass, man. We gotta do it, man. You don't make no fucking sense.